Good morning, guys, and welcome to the podcast. I'm really delighted about today's guest, Tim Stout, and he is a true entrepreneur at heart. He teaches clients how to break free from limits and take ownership of your success. He's a former MMA fighter, athlete with so much experience, and for the David Goggins or the Jocko Willnick fans out there listening or watching, Tim Stout's the man, and we're going to have a fantastic conversation about winning, negotiation, investing, entrepreneurship, and I'm really happy to have him on. Tim, welcome.
Absolutely. I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you.
Yeah, and briefly chronicle your journey. It looks like you've been featured on HGTV, American Dream in Atlanta, Robert Kiyosaki. So talk about how you got to where you are and what you're doing now.
Okay. I'm originally from East Tennessee, super poor, humble upbringing. I always wanted more out of life. I was always in the martial arts, other kids playing basketball, baseball, football. I was doing karate, and I did karate till I did boxing. I did boxing till I did kickboxing, and then kickboxing through jiu-jitsu. And it just continued to compile until I was fighting. And then I had a very small amateur career. I was very aggressive, hit very hard. So like my first three fights were all like knockouts in like less than like 15, 16 seconds. So I went pro early. That took me to Atlanta. There, I own a business there. I own a gym. And once I retired from fighting, I wanted to be in sales. And then everything fell from there, from real estate to sales skills to coaching to investing. All of it come from there.
And what I've found very interesting is the best entrepreneurs are either former athletes or even like the CEOs, they or military. So what is it about this from your martial arts or athletes? What makes you so successful as an entrepreneur?
I think the same thing that made me successful as a fighter and an athlete. I think fighting athlete, I think you learn, you have to embrace the grind and you have to love the grit to succeed. I got into fighting. I wasn't the most athletic. I wasn't the most talented, but I had a hard work ethic and I wasn't going to be outworked. And the same thing with business is I realized really quick that people are lazy. Inherently, they're lazy. And that's not what I was. So I had to have two types of hustles. I'd have hustle to learn and hustle to act. And I doubled down on both of those. And I think it's the grit that makes the difference.
Yeah. And a lot of success comes down to just taking action and just hustle and grit and discipline. And there's a great book. It's like talent is never enough. And you see some of the most talented people and they don't have the discipline and they get outworked by someone with less talent. But just the next question I have for you is what is the number one mindset shift that people listening or watching need to make it as an entrepreneur? Obviously you've taken it to another level, but just people that want to draw inspiration, how can they succeed?
I think people need to realize that. And I taught it to my team this morning in Tennessee that nobody has the key to your success, but you just got to be willing to dig in your pocket further. Like you've got to continue to dig and to work it. And they want things, they want people, they want coaches, mentors, they want ideas to help them succeed, which they will help, but they will not call success. Success is boring. Success is boring, repeated activities day in and day out. People don't like that idea. They want it to be sexy, and it's nothing sexy about success.
Yeah, I love that. Well, what are some of the you have this idea which I really love is fight to win and how discipline and daily habits say shape success. And so take us a deep dive into the power of what your daily like mindset habits that you do that separate yourself from the rest.
I'm super disciplined. I don't believe in motivation. I believe in discipline. Motivation ups and down. Motivation fades. Discipline is what gets you where you want to be in life. My daily, it starts at 3:50 a.m. It rings. I'm up. I go to the gym. I lift weights from 5 a.m. to 6 a.m. And from 6 to 7, I'm either kickboxing, grappling, or some type of combative art still. And my first meeting is at 8, usually at the coffee shop. Then I'm with another entrepreneur or a local business owner I'm coaching. At 9 o'clock, I'm in office at my real estate team in Noonan in Georgia. And then I build them, coach them up. Then I'm working with the investing team, doing that. So it's my biggest thing is it's mindset. There's so many things that have to be done. And you either are going to do them or you're going to delegate them. I think a lot of things with entrepreneurs is when they're delegations, they micromanage. And there's no use in having delegation if you have to micromanage. You're either too cheap when you hire someone or you didn't train them well enough. And you have to come to those decisions like, what's the problem? Fix the problem. So it allows me to focus on my highest money making activities. And it's not doing things that I'm delegating for sure.
Huh. Yeah, interesting. And how do you manage your energy during the day if you're waking up at 4 a.m., which I really love because I wake up at 5 and like by noontime, I'm like, I feel like I've done and how do you manage the rest of the day in terms of energy? Like, what do you, productivity? How do you do that?
My alarm goes off at 3:50. It used to go off at 4, but I hit snooze button one time and I felt like a weakling. It's been about 3 years ago, and I've punished myself ever since, waking up 10 minutes early. So I will not do that. A couple things that help me. I'm in bed by 8 every night, so that helps me. I do get my full 8 hours sleep, but I fast. I don't eat till noon.
Wow.
So that keeps me hyper focused mentally, and it keeps my energy levels high. So when I do eat at noon, it gives me another 5 or 6 hours of good energy. And I'll do caffeine in the morning, but not all day. So yeah, the fasting really helps me with my energy levels.
Interesting. What's your and another component is just your recovery. Like, how do you work out? How do you prevent your body from breaking down in terms of alignment, posture, flexibility? Do you do cold plunges or talk about how your recovery routine?
Recovery, number one for recovery, which most people know that. I'll stretch my workouts. Like I don't do weight workouts. 99% of the population do. I don't lift. I don't lift for muscle. I don't lift for strength. I lift for mobility and movement. So a lot of full body motions, a lot of body weight stuff, kettlebell stuff that helps me move better. I only put good things into my body as far as eating them. I'll do the sauna some. I used to do a lot of cold plunges, but I did cold plunges because it was hard and not any other reason. People wouldn't do it, so I would do it.
Yeah.
I don't do those anymore, but I will still do the sauna. I stretch, I eat well, I make sure I'm hydrated. And your two biggest things for recovery are sleep and nutrition. So I have those two dialed in.
Yeah. And the best feeling is like when it's like as the sun sets and you've done like a great day's work, you've worked your body and your mind, and you can like just rest in 8 to 10 hours of rest. The other thing is like what I realized we're in April of 2025, and I noticed like at the New Year's, like the gym parking lot is like packed and just it's incredible. And then like January 15, like 2 weeks in, like everybody's gone. So many entrepreneurs struggle with consistency. And how do you stay accountable and maintain discipline even when motivation fades?
I just had this conversation when I'm in Tennessee. I do the group coaching, I coach the leadership, I coach the teams, but I also do one-on-ones with the team members. And I had a guy that said the exact same thing, that he joined the gym, he shows up twice, and he cancels his membership because he's wasting his money. You will never succeed in life until your desires and your goals outweigh the hard. And like with me, like working out is not something that I do, it's part of me. I don't work out to look a certain way or to feel a certain way. And it's exactly who I am, and my day wouldn't be complete without it. Eating healthy, that is who I am. And it's who I've become over time. I don't do it to look a certain way. I don't look at to feel a certain way. I do it because that's the best thing for me, and that's who I am. And when your goals are bigger than the fears, that's when you start winning. And when I was coaching the young man this morning, he was talking about the consistency and stuff. And I told him, I said, your goals need to change of not what you want, but what are you afraid of? Like, what are you afraid of happening? He just had a son. And my challenge to him was, at 15-year-old, I'm going to sit down with your son and he's going to tell me 10 things about you. I said, what are those 10 things? Because you start shaping those today. You don't do it in a year. You don't do it in 2 years. It's who you become. In 15 years, I'm going to sit down with your son and your son's going to tell me about you. What do you want him to tell me? And that's because that's his big motivator now. He's a dad and he loves that. And it's like, you have to, anything you have in your head that's a fear or a distraction, like it's, in the end of the day, like people talk about diet. People always like, how do you eat healthy all the time? I was like, when I go to bed at 8 o'clock, it doesn't matter if I eat honey buns or if I eat chicken and broccoli. The day's done. So I can have the results of one or the other. Which one do I want more? And that's a simple way to put it, which is a mindset and it's discipline, but discipline gets easy once it becomes who you are.
Huh. Interesting. Yeah. And the next concept that I've really found inspiring from you was from MMA to Millionaire. And you talk about lessons in real estate, business, and leadership. and how your background in self-defense and competition translate into winning strategies for investing, negotiation, and business growth.
The book that I wrote, it was actually #1 on Amazon last week, so it's a pretty big deal. But it's Forged in Fire, 50 Fight to Win Tactics, and it's lessons that I've come from. When I say grew up poor, like I had 4 brothers, 2 sisters. We grew up in an 870 square foot house, 1 bathroom, mom and dad, hand-me-downs clothes. We ate pinto beans every meal. Like, it was poor. Lots of love, great. Wouldn't change it if I could. But from those lessons that I've learned through my father, from fighting in a cage, from all of these lessons that I've took these lessons, and I use the same lessons in businesses, and I own multiple businesses, several businesses. I coach multiple business owners, and it's the same lessons that I've learned from fighting, growing up poor. And there's a chapter in the book called "Don't Touch the Wood Twice." And I remember, what we call ricking wood, like taking chopped wood and we'd put it in piles for the house to burn. I would take it, in my mind, I would take it and I would throw it off the truck. And then I would go take it from the pile I made to the new pile. And I remember my dad saying, he said, "Tim, you're touching the wood twice. The majority of your time is bending down and picking it up. When you've already done it once, why do it twice?" And I'm like, so I wrote a whole chapter on "Don't touch the wood twice." And it's like, how can you minimize the amount of actions to get the same result? And it's little things like that. Then it's talk about the fighting and the grit of lessons that I will learn. I remember the one time I cheated when I was boxing. I cheated during a run. I had a 3 to 5 mile run every day I had to do. And one run, I was the only athlete that showed up. So I was running, and there was a shortcut. So I took it. My boxing coach was a police officer, and somebody had saw me take the shortcut and let him know. And he took me back to the same spot, and it was about a mile back. And he made me duck walk. And a duck walk is, imagine in the squatted position with your butt as low as you could go, with your hands on the back of your head, and you waddle. And I had to do that for over a mile. It was cool. But that lesson taught me that you don't take shortcuts. There's nothing positive from a shortcut. And so that's the type of stuff that I've relayed in the book. And it's those simple lessons. I'm not smart enough to complicate things. I have a very simple mind, but I am very action driven. Like, success is all about action. It doesn't matter how smart you are if you can't put it to action. Being smart without action is having a 900 horsepower car with no wheels on it. You're not going to go anywhere. So I have wheels and I have a decent motor, and I just continue with action. I have a lot of high performance coaches in my lifetime, and they all said that my superpower was speed to action. Like, I get a concept to go. And that's one thing I believe helps everybody succeed, is just getting moving.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the execution showing up is almost 90%. And like we were talking about, talent is never enough. A follow-up question I have for you is, because I've seen this, because I competed in Olympic Taekwondo, and what I found was, like, I saw this phenomenon quite a bit, was that driven athlete, very disciplined, just everything to the T, dot their I, diet, everything. And then they show up to competition and they get knocked out or lose first round, whereas like a less disciplined athlete could make it to the quarter semis or whatnot, or even win. So how do you, when you're like this focused and disciplined, but you're not seeing results, but you're seeing like people that are lazier or just taking shortcuts, getting ahead, how do you handle that?
I am my only competition. I'm not looking in your lane. It's like, my job is to do the best that I can do. And I'm a very competitive person, but I'm not competitive. I'm competitive in the actions, because you can't control the results all the time, but you can control your actions to the results. So I'm competitive. If me and you're in the same office and you're making 500 calls a week, I want to do 1,000. And that type of mindset will create double the result eventually. But yeah, I stay in my own lanes. Like, I'm competitive, but it's not, I can't help that another, like say in real estate, I can't help that other real estate agent knows more people. I can't help that other real estate agent is more attractive than I am. I can't help that other real estate agent is better on the phones than I am. There's all these things. So I've just got to do me, and I do me very fast and try to learn. And but yeah, if you're paying attention to your competition, you're not working hard enough.
Oh, wow, that's a good point. Interesting. It's a good way to
rush in with your work ethic.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah. The other thing is, you talk about business and self-defense tactics that give you the edge in mastering the art of negotiation. What are your thoughts on that?
One thing, like I remember when I first started real estate, someone was like, you go door knocking or you shouldn't do door knocking. And they're telling me all these things. And all these things were easy to me. And the reason it was easy is because in my previous profession, if I messed up, I got punched in the mouth. It wasn't that difficult to have someone shut the door in my face or hang up on me. So making the massive action, which was what succeeds in business, wasn't big as an issue for me. And confidence is a big deal with negotiating. And I think the most positive confidence you can have is self-confidence. Like with me, I understand that I'm physically fit. I can handle myself in 99.9% of situations if it ever got to that physical. I hope it never does. But it's better to be a warrior in a garden than a gardener in a war. You want to be ready for it. So when anything's negotiating, it's never if this happens, then this done. It's like a negotiations is just like anything in life. But most people have the wrong idea of what negotiations are. Negotiations, they think I'm coming to you and I'm like, I'm only going to pay $100 and that's it. And you're like, okay, I'll do $100. That's not negotiations. Negotiations is me telling you my story of whatever I need to be done and you understanding it. And now you're speaking to your clients with my feelings, with my emotions, because now you're bought in. That's what true negotiations is. Negotiations is not me running you over the coals and you feel like you got took advantage of. It's me running you over the coals and you thanking me for it. You know what I mean? You're like, I needed that. Thank you. We had a deal. We're talking about it this morning during a training. There's a house listed for $210,000. We got it in contract for $130,000.
Wow.
And the seller thanks us because we fixed their problem, which I told him, I said, this may fix your problem. It may not, but this is the number we have to have for it to make sense for us. And I explained why it has to be at that number. And if that works for you, we are a solution for you. And then they called us back after about a month and they're like, I think we're ready for that solution. I'm like, and I'm happy to help. And they thank us for it because we solved their problem.
Yeah. I read Art of the Deal years ago, which was all about negotiation. And it's interesting, this whole area of just tactics and negotiation tactics and just arriving at a win-win. It's a really important skill. The kind of a final question is, what I love is a lot of people become entrepreneurs because the sky's the limit. There's no limit to you. You are in real estate. So that area of success, you are the limiting factor. Whereas some people are in the corporate setting and they hit this glass ceiling, they know they can do better. In your opinion, when someone hits this glass ceiling, like they're full of potential, they feel like they can do more. Talk about staying in this corporate setting or versus becoming an entrepreneur. What are your thoughts?
I think there's two types of people who become entrepreneurs. People who are unemployable, they can't work for somebody else. And people who see the limitless. Like that's the type of people that come into entrepreneurship. Because you'll see a lot of people in different trades who they can't show up on time. They can't process. They can't do anything. And that's the reason they work for themselves, because they can't work for anybody else. And then you've got people probably like us who want to shoot for the ceiling. I don't want anybody holding me back. So the people that are in the corporate world, there is something to be said about people who work in the corporate world. It appears to be safer. You get paid every month. You get insurance. You get vacations. There's a lot of good things that happen. But what I would challenge a lot of people who feel like they're worth more than they're getting is either you are not worth more than what you're getting paid, or you've not shown your true value to the person who pays you. And I have this conversation as agents will come to me and they'll be like, I want to make a higher commission. And I'm like, why would I do that? And great, asking a question, not being a smart aleck. And then they're telling me, they're like, I closed this many deals. And I'm like, do you think I could hire someone else to close that many deals? No. I said, could I close 2 people to close that many deals? And they're like, yes. I said, what's the difference in me paying you that or paying 2 people that? Just commission only. So I changed the way they think about it. And then it's, if you're bringing me more deals than I'm giving you, then you have leverage. Then we can negotiate. So if somebody sees your true value, I'm not going to let somebody, if I'm paying somebody $25 an hour, they want 30. If they cannot be replaced with another $25 hour employee, I'll give them 30. But I have to see their value. And a lot of times I think people overestimate their own value because they feel special in their own head, but it's not always the case.
Yeah, interesting. Very fascinating conversation. If people wanted to reach out with you, connect with you, work with you, how can they do that?
Facebook's probably the most popular place to get me at. It's just Tim Stout. It's a picture of me and my wife, and the Tim Stout on Instagram.
Yeah, I love that. And I really enjoyed it. Very inspiring, and keep up the great work.
I appreciate you. Thank you very much.